Hello and welcome to my new Riftbound channel. This is one of the first videos that I'm doing on this channel, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the new set, including the new art that I think is going to get a lot of people who were skeptics originally of this game to come around. Because if you haven't been paying attention, Riftbound originally got announced as Project K. They have so many projects, it's hard to keep track of. Project K, and this game was originally only going to be available in China. And then they revealed it, and they're like, oh, it's actually going to be available in the US, and everybody hated the card frames and hated the art because I think they had not spent a lot of time on the card frame, and a lot of the art had just been ported over from Legends of Runeterra, which I think is a great game with great art, but I don't think that the card design was originally showcasing it. So a couple of weeks ago, from the time that you're watching this video, I got invited to the Riftbound Summit, where they revealed the cards and a whole bunch of information about it to myself and some other media and other influencers. And I gotta say, when I saw these cards, I thought, okay, now I actually think people who are just League of Legends fans, even if they've never touched a TCG before, are gonna want to pick up these packs and open some of them because they are beautiful. And some of the more chase cards, I guess is the term, and crazy rarities that you can get of certain versions, alternate arts, etc., they are astounding. They've just done a really good job with this. So let's talk a little bit, before we get into the art, about what Origins is. So Origins is the first set that is going to be available in Riftbound. Unlike in, for instance, in Magic, where a set will come out and it will have like a very specific aesthetic, or it's related to like a certain section of a world or whatever, like you could imagine in the future they might do like an Ionia set, or they might do one that's set around like some specific conflict or certain type of creature, like a Yordle set, I don't know. This set is going to just be about the fundamentals of League of Legends. It's going to be the baseline set that's going to help everybody get into the game and really introduce League of Legends to the physical TCG world. It's coming out in China much earlier. It's coming out in the summer of this year. But in the West and English-speaking countries, select English-speaking countries, I guess, it's going to be available in October of this year. But until October, you're going to be able to see Origins at a bunch of different things. I know they're going to Gen Con. They're going to do stuff at MSI, etc. So you'll be able to get a chance to play it if you would like to, if you're able to attend one of these events and find them. One of the things that they also emphasized about Origins is that it's going to kind of be like that good old honest Riftbound experience, which I know is kind of crazy to say about a game that hasn't come out yet, but people who have played TCGs will understand that this is going to have a lot of the foundational mechanics. I expect that we'll be seeing almost all of the mechanics that we see in this set pop up in other sets in the future, as opposed to, again, some of these sets that come out where it's kind of like a one-off set or something that's kind of a neat little trope for that specific release. So let's talk about the art and the redesign of the borders and the cards themselves. Again, I was completely floored when they showed me this. This is a completely true story. Once I started seeing all the different alt arts and stuff that can come into this, I texted a writer that was in the room and was like, should I go be pre-ordering this? Like, are we going to be able to get this from you guys? Do I need to go find an LGS? Because of how excited I was specifically about the art stuff on the cards. They did this really neat thing where they spent a bunch of time, I guess, iterating on like the UI of the game. Can you say that? I don't know if you can about a physical thing, but all the different ways in which the information is portrayed on the cards. One of the things that I think is really neat is that the border actually gets more elaborate in the framing. They called it the filigree, right? Which is like that, when you're in the League client, all those little gold aspects that are on the edges and frames and all that stuff. They've adapted that over to this game, changed some of the colors so that they're not all gold, so that they can reflect more of what's in the game. And they actually increase in detail and complexity as you increase the rarity of the card. So it's really neat because I think in the future you're going to be able to just take a look at the card that somebody plays and you'll know intuitively, oh my gosh, this is like a strong card. It must be like a legend or some legendary card or something. I forget all the different rarities that they have for the game right now. And because it's got so much detail and complexity to the card, you just know that it's got like an upgraded, souped up appearance. One of the phrases that they used, I think, was something along the lines of how it kind of merges like Western design sensibilities with like Eastern art forward approaches. And while that sounds kind of like a bunch of jargon, I think when you see the cards, like you should be seeing them right now if we're putting them on the screen, you'll see what I mean in that a lot of Eastern TCGs, from what I've seen, like I've opened up like some Weiss Schwarz and stuff like that, they really go super hard on the art. And it sometimes, in my opinion, makes a lot of the text on the card feel a little less legible because it is so much focused on the art and it feels like the text is separate. I think they found a really great balance where, especially in comparison to the original cards that they showed off a while ago, the text and UI and all that stuff of the card is a lot more legible, and yet you still have these really cool moments where characters like breaking the frame and you feel like the art or the characters emerging out of the card in a really neat way. Now, I do plan on doing a different video just talking a little bit about the collectability of the game, including how difficult it is to get certain treatments of the cards. But I did just want to talk a little bit about how I think they've done a really great job of not just making like the baseline cards look really cool, but a lot of the alternate arts look really cool. Similar to games, I've heard that Pokemon does this, and I think maybe One Piece, where they have over-numbered cards. For those that don't know what that means, usually in the bottom corner of a card from a game, you might see like, oh, this is card 113 out of 250 for this set. And that's how you can track like which card you've pulled from a set in addition to its name. They have cards that will say something like card 262 out of 250. So it's over numbering the set. They're like bonus additional cards. These are going to be really rare, and they showed us this Yasuo card that looks super, super cool. So check the collecting video if you want to talk a little bit about that. But I think they've created really neat versions of the cards that will be exciting to open whenever you do manage to get one of these. These will be what people are really trying to get out of every box, because they'll notably be worth a ton, I'm sure, but also just be, in some cases, like the craziest looking version of the card. Now, I think there are already a bunch of videos out that talk a little bit about how to play the game, so I'm going to go over it very lightly here for those that aren't familiar. But the game basically is approached either in a 1v1 setting, a 2v2 setting, or a 4-person free-for-all. This is really similar to, for instance, what I've enjoyed in Magic in terms of different ways to play the game. Your deck that you come to the table with is, I think, other than in limited environments, I think even in limited environments, it's basically themed around a specific champion. So you will have a Yasuo deck or a, they didn't show this at some point in time, but I'm a Blitzcrank main. I'm excited for the Blitzcrank deck. You'll sit down with the deck that is themed around your specific champion. And there are 3 ways in which that champion is revealed within your deck or represents your deck. One of them is there's a legend card that sits on the battlefield at all times. I say battlefield, it sits on your play mat, but it's not really interactable. At least so far, there's no way to like destroy this or change it or erase it or anything like that. It just sits there, and it's like an ongoing aura that is available to the player. So for instance, the Jinx deck, if you haven't seen it yet, that card's been out for a while now, but it allows you that if at the start of your turn, you don't have any cards in your hand, you get to draw an additional card. And so really what you're doing with the Jinx deck is trying to like play as many cards as you can, empty your hand so that you're getting additional value. So that's just a legend card that says Jinx on it is represented. It's just like a single effect that you can get at all times. Some of them actually do have like abilities that you can use on them. It's not just always like a passive effect like the Jinx one, but that is like a defining piece of the deck. And you can only build within the colors of that legend. So for instance, the Jinx one is purple and red. That means that unless you are in a limited environment, they didn't really focus too much on limited, you are really building cards that only have purple and red in them. In addition to the legend, you get a champion version of your card. So there are right now multiple Jinx versions. There's like a couple different Jinx champion cards that are available. You get to pick one of these to sit outside the game for you to use once in the game. So it's a guaranteed version of the card that you can play at some point in time. It's not in the deck. It just sort of sits on the playmat. And at some point in time, you get to cast that card instead of having to have it in your hand or draw it or get lucky. So you just know that you're going to be able to get this. And you choose one of the different Jinx cards that are available to have. So that is a playable card. It is not the legend card, it is a champion card. The other thing that is really neat is there is a signature spell that comes with a champion that you can only use if you are running that deck. So for Jinx, I think it's her rocket. What is it? Doom Rocket? It's not Doom Rocket. What is the rocket? Super Mega Death Rocket. Thank you, Drew. And so that is, I believe, her signature spell, unless I'm forgetting something. And that goes into her deck, and you can only get access to that spell if Jinx is the deck. Now, what is interesting is I mentioned that there's that Jinx champion card that sits on the board that you can cast at some point in time. You can still run 2 additional copies of that in your deck because every deck has a card limit for a single card of 3. So you can have up to 3 copies of a card in your deck. You can also run additional champion cards in the deck. So for instance, there's a Vi card that is available that you can have in the deck. So even if you're running the Jinx deck, you can still have the Vi cards in your deck as long as the colors match the deck. The gameplay really focuses on movement. I think this is one of the things that is very different from the other TCGs that I have played because there's a lot of locations on the board. And again, I'm not going to get into the way that every turn breaks down. Maybe I'll do that in a future video if people ask. But I think when you're thinking about the sort of space of a board, what is unique about this game is that you have your units and your champions, they get deployed into your base. So similar to League of Legends, they've done a pretty good job of replicating that. You are deploying them to your base, and there's no combat that happens in the base or anything like that. People can, for instance, go, use a spell to destroy a unit in your base. So it's not like it's like a safe space where nobody can get access to it. But it is a situation where like they're not going to be able to fight you there. Nobody's trying to deal damage to you there. What you are doing is you are deploying these units and champions to battlefields. So there are battlefield cards that each deck gets. You're always going to bring one. Your opponent will bring one. You'll put them into the middle of the board. It's kind of between you two. And your goals are to capture and hold these battlefields. So you move a unit there. Once you put a unit there, you get a point. Once you get 8 points, you win the game. So once you have a unit or a champion on a battlefield and somebody else decides to move something there, you're going to initiate a combat where these two champions or units are going to fight each other. There is a singular score. So unlike Magic, for instance, where there's like power and toughness, there's only one number. So something is not a 4-2, it is only a 4. You take that number, you look at the opposing numbers on the other units or champions that are on that battlefield, and then you do the math to figure out who wins and who ends up controlling the battlefield. Again, once you get to 8 victory points, you win the game. So there's no life totals. There's nothing like that. I think it's actually pretty neat in multiplayer because I played a multiplayer game with Broden and Anna Margaret, some friends that I have. And I think one of the things that's really nice for me is that I've played a lot of Commander and Magic, which is the free-for-all format there, but the games can take so long because life totals can move up and down or they get locked up, etc. I'm sure that as complexity enters the game in future sets, like some of these games might end up going a little bit longer. But ultimately, like somebody's going to get to 8 points eventually, and then the game just ends. So there's no losing points, nobody's healing, nobody's I don't know, like dodging, getting their life hit by 30 by using some sort of ability. It is just a straight up like first 8. So the games moved pretty quickly, and I think that was even for us who were figuring out the rules and trying to figure stuff out. So I think that is one thing that'll be nice, is that you'll be able to get multiple games in over the course of a couple hours, unlike in Commander where a game can go for quite some time. So that sums up the basics of what I learned at this. I'm going to do probably 2 other videos, maybe one we'll see, on this channel that will probably be going up around the same time that talks a little bit about the collectability, maybe some about the organized play that they have around this stuff, which is, I guess, organized play is the TCG term for like tournaments or esports if you have it. But I'll have that going up as well. But I am really excited about this game. I'm definitely going to be doing some stuff around it. If you like this content, you want to learn more about it, I'll be trying to do some more coverage of it as well. So you can subscribe to this new channel. Thank you so much for watching.